You know, the New York Times has a great op-ed, or not an op-ed, it's solid news reporting piece today about how incompetent the 113th Congress is. Now, some people, you say at the 113th Congress, they go, what are you talking about? Here's how it works. Every 2 years, a new Congress is sworn in. And the current Congress is the 113th Congress that's been sworn in since the George Washington presidency. And it's well on its way to setting a very, very undesirable record. The current do-nothing Congress, seriously, they're on track to pass fewer bills, and it's not like, you know, lots of bills means good Congress, a lot of few bills means bad. It's nothing like that, but there are things that need to be done. Right, they're on track to pass fewer bills than the 112th do-nothing Congress of 2 years ago, which passed the fewest number of bills signed into law since record-keeping began back in the 1940s, which means they even beat the do-nothing Congress that Harry Truman ran against of 1940, 6-48, or 47-49 technically. Right now, the 113th Congress has a pile of legislation yet to be considered. Everything is student loans. You know, they didn't do anything about it. So on July 1st, student loan rates doubled. Immigration reform, the Senate has passed a bill. The House of Representatives, which is controlled by the Republicans, we don't care about that. Post office reform, back in 2006, when the post office was talking about solarizing and electrifying their vehicle fleet. They got the largest vehicle fleet in the United States. They are the largest unionized employer in the United States. They were making a great profit. They were doing great. So in 2006, the Bush administration, the Republicans in Congress said, we can't have that. And they slipped in this little thing that says that the post office had to put $10 billion a year aside to pay for the retirement health benefits of people who are retiring 75 years from now who are not yet even born. And then on top of that, you got the debt limit. Last time Congress ignored the debt limit, what happened? Our debt rating went down. Gets ignored altogether. Well, frankly, you know, what's going to happen? I think that the president should. I doubt he will. Because this would require, you know, standing up and speaking out and taking names and kicking ass, and that's just not his style. But what he should do is he should say, this whole debt limit thing is a violation of the full faith and credit clause of the 14th Amendment. It is unconstitutional. Therefore, I'm going to ignore it. And I'm going to direct the Treasury Department, which works for me in the executive branch, to keep paying the bills. That's what I think he should do. But in any case, don't expect this latest and greatest rendition of the do-nothing Congress to get around to doing any of that stuff anytime soon. Because since the 113th Congress took over Capitol Hill in January, they've only passed 15 bills that were signed into law by President Obama. Now, to put that in perspective, that's 8 fewer than in the first 6 months of the 112th Congress, a whopping 19 fewer bills than in the first 6 months of the 111th Congress. And of those 15 bills that were passed and signed into law, most of them were pretty irrelevant. Unless you consider, quote, the size of the precious metal blank that will be used in the production of the National Baseball Hall of Fame Canada coins, end quote, as an issue of urgent national importance. So how do we get to the point in Washington where Congress can't manage to pass legislation of urgent importance, like keeping student loan debts from doubling in price, in interest rates? But instead they pass a bill addressing coinage instantly? This all started, you can track this whole thing, back to January 20th, 2009. It was a night when most people in Washington, D.C. were out celebrating the start of the Obama presidency. It was the day he had been sworn in, Inauguration Day. And that night, Ellen Ratner got me a ticket to go to the, I think it was the Silver Ball, whichever one it was in Union Station. And I was there with Ellen and you know, a few hundred of our closest friends. And President Obama and his wife came out and danced, and Joe Biden and his wife came out and danced. But while we were dancing with the president and the vice president, there was this small group of Republican lawmakers who were plotting the end of the Obama presidency, the day that it began, before it had really even begun. On that night at the Caucus Room restaurant here in Washington, D.C., Republican leaders on Capitol Hill were plotting to intentionally sabotage and undermine the Obama presidency at every chance possible. Robert Draper writes about this in his book, Do Not Ask What Good We Do. Here's the who's who of Republican power players in Washington who were at the meeting. On the guest list for the 4-hour invitation-only meeting were Republican Congressman Eric Cantor, Paul Ryan, Kevin McCarthy, Pete Sessions, Jeb Hensarling, Pete Hoekstra, Dan Lundgren, and Republican Senators Jim DeMint, who now runs the Heritage Foundation, John Kyle, Tom Coburn, John Ensign, and Bob Corker. The whole thing was orchestrated by Republican propaganda mastermind Frank Luntz, and Newt Gingrich was also in attendance. In fact, on this show, just a few months ago, I asked him about this, and he flat out admitted that the purpose of the dinner meeting was to come up with a plan to sabotage the Obama presidency. Hear that clip, Shane?
And you were quoted in the book as saying that after this dinner, you'll remember this as the day the seeds of 2012 were sown. Is that all accurate?
Well, in part.
So were you guys insurgents against the Obama presidency?
Well, the fact is, look, the opposition party ought to sit down and try to figure out how to get back in power. That's why they're the opposition party. Right. If they're not going to try to get back in power, they might as well switch parties and join the incumbent party.
So during the dinner, the Republican lawmakers vowed to bring Congress to an absolute standstill, regardless of how badly that would hurt the already hurting American economy or the American people, by pledging to obstruct, filibuster, and block any legislation that President Obama wanted. And while the meeting at the caucus room was top secret, Republican attendees at that meeting were very frank just a couple months later about what had transpired. Congressman Pete Sessions told the National Journal in March of 2009 that the Republican sabotage plan was all about following the tactics of the Taliban. Yeah, the terrorist organization. Sessions said that Taliban insurgency, this is a verbatim quote, Taliban insurgency, we understand perhaps a little bit more because of the Taliban. Insurgency is the way they went about systematically understanding how to disrupt and change a person's entire processes. And these Taliban are an example of how you go about to change a person from their messaging to their operations to their frontline message. And we need to understand that insurgency may be required when dealing with the other side. That would be the Democrats. Texas Congressman went on to say, if the Democrats do not give us those options or opportunities, then we will become insurgency. I think insurgency is a mindset and an attitude that we're going to have to search for and find ways to get our message out and to be prepared to see things for what they are rather than trying to do something about them. And that Taliban-like insurgency is working. Every one of the lawmakers that attended that caucus room dinner has since threatened a government shutdown at one time or another. During the 2011 debt ceiling negotiations, caucus room attendees Congressman Eric Cantor and Senator John Kyle walked out of the negotiations. As a result of the intentional negotiation collapse, America's credit rating was lowered. Since that January 2009 dinner, Senators Jim DeMint, John Kyle, Tom Coburn, John Ensign, and Bob Corker have helped to filibuster more bills than during any other Congress combined in history. They even filibustered Al Franken's anti-rape amendment. Amazing.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
These guys were so intent on destroying the Obama presidency that they would filibuster anti-rape legislation.